Good morning, good morning, good morning. Wow, what a beautiful day. Beautiful day. Let's see, who do we have on the line? Looks like we have Miss Susu, we have Miss Denise, we have Miss Bianca. Good morning, guys. Good morning. Go ahead and check in. I think Miss Susu was first, then Miss Denise, and then Miss Bianca. So let's check in this morning in that order. Good morning, Miss Susu.
Good morning, Miss Jackson. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing well physically. I feel strength in my body, and mentally, I'm doing as well. Doing as well. All is well so far. And thank God for this day. Thank God for health and strength.
Yeah.
I'm just doing good. I'm really doing good. Excited again for our class. See what I can put in my backpack. I'll put in for right now or my backpack. God bless you.
God bless you. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Sounds amazing. Miss Denise, good morning.
Good morning. Um, I needed that laugh that I just had. No, I desperate. No, I know. No, no, I need it. That dog wants to be in group. That's all. And he wants to lay right up under you, and he wants to be in group. He's made his choice clear. Oh, I needed that laugh though this morning. A bit
He
heavy,
made his choice clear.
a bit heavy this morning. Just I have so much stuff to deal with that that's so overwhelming. But you know what? But to keep going,
Right.
I I'm gonna be honest with you. I cannot wait. Um, I have to wait until some things have gone this way, that way, and the other way,
Mm-hmm.
and I can sit down and go away. But I'm grateful today. I'm grateful today. I went and helped her type up her obituary and gave her a little time.
Wow.
Um, and then I walked into an NA meeting last night.
Okay, okay.
I hadn't been to a meeting since she passed. I had tried to go to a meeting, but somebody was acting a fool on my phone when she
Mm.
first passed away, and I couldn't even go into the meeting peacefully.
Wow.
But the whole thing is something. This whole thing is something, and it's just like took a fine time to leave me, Lucille. Literally, you took a fine time to leave me with this. But I've been playing a song over and over, back to back. It's a song always liked it. It's something from the '80s, and I don't know. I liked it. I never played it a lot,
Mm-hmm.
but I've been playing it by. It's by how it's a worldly song by Howard Hewitt called "If I Could Only Have That Day Back."
Oh, wow. Okay.
I've been playing that song, and I've been playing this Rodney Franklin song. It's a song from the '80s that I love
Mm-hmm.
called "Learning How to Love." When she left here, I sat down next to the body with my computer and I started looking up funeral stuff. I put that song on Learning How to Love on loop
Wow.
and I sat down looking up funeral stuff. But so where I'm at right now, I'm a bit heavy. This morning I was upset
I hear
because
you.
it was a park manager. She said I wanted to use the club room to have some type of gathering. And
Right.
she said around the holidays, the corporation policy is that we don't let the residents have the club room because everybody probably want to have a party.
Okay.
And so she wouldn't let me do that. So I'm like, okay, and I don't want to do this other thing. And I told my cousin, said we could find a restaurant, cool,
Mhm.
because I just can't right now.
Yeah,
I can't right now. I don't know, but this is my first time through this way.
that's right.
But I'm grateful. I'm feeling all kinds of way. I got to find my journal. I owe myself some journal entries, and I'm hanging in there. That's what I'm saying this morning. I'm hanging in there.
Yes.
I'm hanging in there, and I'm not gonna say all is well. I'm alive.
Yeah,
There's hope in my heart. My name is written in heaven, and I want to keep it there.
that's right.
And
Awesome.
I ain't stepping sideways from I may kind of get out of character from time to time. I found out I had become 3 or 4 Negroes standing on the corner of Fifth and San Pedro.
Mhm. Wow.
I
Wow.
said, "Ooh," I said, "Ee, you awful. You saw it." I said, "I need deliverance." But anyway, I
Wow.
just checking in with the folks. Uh,
Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Jackson,
Thank
and
you, Miss Denise.
thank you for that dog you got. Want to be in group like everybody else.
Oh, wow. Laughter does help us through hard situations. And I'm so glad I was able to help you in laughter this morning. It is hard what you're going through. And I want you to know that according to what I see, you're doing an amazing job processing this and going through the waves and the hurts and everything that you have to go through in this. And it's very unexpected how we go through grief. But I salute you, Denise. Thank you so much for checking in. Thank you for showing up for yourself. Thank you for valuing yourself above your feelings, above your emotions, beyond the stressors that you're experiencing right now. just just thank you. I like what she said. I'm in a place. I'm in a healthy place. I'm good. My name is written in the book, and I'm not going to let an emotion, I'm not going to let my circumstances turn me away from that. I'm not going to let my being, I'm not going to make a temporary decision of relief to determine my long-term consequences. No, I'm just not going to do that. Not going to do that. So thank you so much, Denise. Miss Bianca, good morning. Go ahead and check in, please.
Good morning, everyone. I want to say to Miss Denise that I am praying for her. Um, I'm praying for her. I'm praying for her. Amen. I'm doing well on today. Have a doctor's appointment that I will be going to this afternoon. So kind of been thinking about that. But overall, I'm doing well. I'm here. God bless you.
God bless you. God bless you. Thank you so much, Miss Bianca. And all will be well, because guess what? Whatever it is in life that we have to go through, we have God on our side to strengthen us and bring us out. So to Miss Denise and Miss Bianca, be encouraged. Be encouraged, as I know that you are. As I know that you are. We go through these processes in life. We go through these down valleys and we go through these mountain highs. And one of the things about the midsection of it all is that we learn how to balance the emotion of both of those different states, because they're very different. They're very different. The valley atmosphere is a lot different than the mountain high atmosphere. And we love the mountain high atmosphere, but life brings about circumstances, real life circumstances. Some things are perceived circumstances, some things are self-inflicted, but whatever they are, they're actual, whether if they're an actual or whether they're actual to you, they impact your life, and the decisions that you make with them is what's going to impact your life further. Today, we're going to be talking about compassion. Compassion, having and embracing compassion for yourself as we go through these valleys and these mountain highs, as we go through these challenging times, as we go through our peace seasons, our seasons of war. our seasons of hurt, our seasons of disdain. As we go through various seasons of our life, we have to learn how to cope with every season in order to stay on the path. Again, I love how Denise said, overall, I'm grateful. Overall, I'm good. Overall, my name is written in the book. And she's pointing out those things that she value in her life that means more. That if I change these things because of my temporary situation or maybe not temporary, but my turn of events in my life, because sometimes we have turn of events. Sometimes we become sick. Sometimes we lose a loved one. Sometimes we have to go through some situations and it's not temporary. It's something that we have to adjust to. So it's a turn of event now. So in dealing with these turn of events, we have to ask ourselves before we make these decisions according to our impulses, we have to ask ourselves, is this going to be beneficial to where I'm going? Because sometimes we're very impulsive people. I heard another participant say, I don't deal with stress well. Well, the beauty of that statement is identifying I don't deal with stress well. That's wonderful, because once we identify what our strengths are and what our weaknesses are, who we are and who we are not, then we can accept that and own that. And owning it means we could do something about it, not pretend like that's not a truth in our lives. So what we're going to talk about today is having that compassion on ourselves, dealing with the truth of our lives. Right. The truth of my life today is maybe I'm dealing with this unhealthy behavior. The truth of my life today is maybe my life have just taken a turn of events. The truth of my life today is maybe I just got a diagnosis that I'm not really happy with. The truth of my life is maybe, yes, I have messed up in my past. And I have made some consequences. I've endured some consequences that have changed my life. And I'm going to have to work harder to turn it around. The truth of my life is what? And I want to ask somebody on this line today, if you could just think of what is a hard truth of your life that you've been having some trouble accepting, or something that you want to kind of take a look at. And I just want to maybe one or two words before we get into our lesson. What is the truth that you have to kind of look at about yourself and accept? Go ahead, unmute your phone and share. Got to think about that one, huh? Because there are some things we don't want to look at about ourselves. We don't want to recognize that, hey, this is a weakness. Maybe I do have an eating disorder. I do have low self-restraint in this area. I don't do well in relationships. I am very controlling. I can be very bossy. Any of those things. What are some of the truths that you need to look at and accept? Well, we won't stay there. We'll move forward while you think about that. If you identify it later on in the group time, please just share it. One of the things that we're talking about today is compassion. Compassion, having that compassionate self-talk for ourselves. Yes, not just compassion for others. We sometimes have that real good. I can have compassion for someone else. I can deal with someone else's situation and I can encourage them. But guess what? When I mess up, sometimes we do what we call beating ourselves up. I want to introduce a quote to you on this morning, and I want you to tell me, what do you think about when you hear this quote? This quote is written by Buddha. Buddha, he is a 5th century BC Indian philosopher. And his quote is, "You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection." I'm going to say that again, and I want you to tell me what you feel about that. You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. When you hear that, what do you think about? Go ahead, unmute your phone and share.
Take care of myself.
Awesome. I love that. Taking care of yourself. Anyone else?
Yeah, I was going to say the same. Taking care of myself, love myself just as much as I do anybody else. Even more, love myself more. That way I can love others more.
That's right. That's right. Anyone else that want to add or take away or have a different interpretation?
Making sure that self is a priority.
Woo! Ding, ding, ding. That's the word I was looking for, the priority. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you, Miss Bianca, because sometimes, like I said, we can love everyone else. We can show compassion to everyone else, but it's just like you guys said, we deserve to take care of ourselves, but also let's prioritize ourselves. Let's prioritize ourselves. Everyone's interpretation was just amazingly said. But one of the things that came to my mind is the priority. Sometimes we can fit ourselves in. Oh, I'll take care of myself, right before midnight tonight after I did this and did that and did this. Oh, and I got to call over to Mexico and make sure I did that. And don't forget Australia because they need me over there. And let me take care of the dog, the cat, and got everything together. And then time for me. What time is that? When you're nodding off to sleep because you have nothing else. You have nothing else. I saw a clip on Facebook, and it was Fantasia that talked about all the people of her immediate circle, her children, her stepchildren, and her grandchildren, and things that was going on in their life. And she said that she had to come to a place in her life where she realized that what was in her cup was for her. She said, the overflow you can have. She said she had a stepson that was going wild. She got this child over here that's doing this and that. We're going to have situations, but she said, what's in the cup is for me. The overflow, I'll help others with. But what's in the cup, I have to retain for me. Miss Bianca, did you want to share something?
I did. Talking about that cup.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many times in my life it was the overflow was in the cup, and we get to drop out the cup, and we could break the glass and get something else out the cup for everybody else.
Yeah.
And then I'd be left dry, high and dry.
Yes.
So many years, always looking out for other people, trying to make sure everybody else is good. You
Yeah.
good, you good, you good, you good. And in reality, I wasn't good.
Yeah.
I've lacked doctor's appointments. I heard Miss Susu say that I've lacked doctor's appointments because something else came up in somebody else's life. Oh, well, let me get over there to see about that, or let me just sit here and wait for them to call me, or whatever the situation was. And after looking back over all of that and just seeing, different things in my life, and I'll talk about health wise, and where it is today, just how I didn't make myself a priority.
Yes.
I didn't make myself a priority. Everybody else was.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was a priority but me.
Yeah.
And so there's a time, I know we're going to talk about compassion. I think that's talking harsh to yourself and being more compassionate. So I'll just wait to comment on that. But yeah, I just wanted to say that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Sound like you've been here before. Excuse me. But absolutely, and thank you guys for sharing that, because especially when we're dealing with life and dealing with life change that's not so pleasant, not so accepting, not easily accepting, not really anticipated or hoped for, we identify that within ourselves, we have to learn how to brace and position ourselves for that curve, for that learning curve of life, because that's what it is. It's a new learning curve, learning how to live with this, learning how to live without them, learning how to deal with myself through failure and disappointment, learning how to combat and become resilient in life rather than beating myself up. One thing that we want to look at is beating yourself up never helps. That never helps. Sometimes we think that beating ourselves up is like, hey, I'm just taking responsibility. I'm just straight up like that. I messed up. I need to check myself and this, that, and the other. And one thing that that I want to say that I learned it later in life. I grew up in an era of life where spankings was the go-to formula for correction, spankings, whoopings, for some beatings, thank God I wasn't of that crowd, but for some, because sometimes people could not determine the line. It was no standard. The standard was for each individual's mindset or their own ruling of it, but there's no governing standard of between what was just a whooping to what was actually over the line and entered into abuse in some people's life, whereas whoopings were concerned. Some people say, hey, ain't nothing wrong with whoopings, but then you got somebody else from another household, whose life has never been the same because of a whooping went bad. So one of the things that we identify is that we were told, we were dealt with by whooping. We were punished. Whooping was the correction rod of a bad situation. And what happens is sometimes is that we internalize those messages. Some parents, they didn't whoop, they just talk to you real hard. Some parents, they look at you a certain kind of way, but there's some parents that would talk to you real hard. And some of that harsh talk that they spoke in the early years of your life or in vulnerable times of your life, it became the internal messages that that you've heard down through the years. You dummy, you so stupid. Oh my God, how many times do I have to say that? You this, or maybe not your parents. Maybe it was an aunt or an uncle who was harsh. Maybe a mean grandmother or grandfather. Maybe it was an older brother or older sister, that was like, you dummy, and things like that. These words spoken to one another can be received internally as well, emotionally, shall I say. They'll be received, and what happens is they convert themselves to the message that you're guided by for years, and you don't even know it. You don't even know it. You think you're making your own decisions. Your childhood is behind you, but you're not even aware sometimes is that those internal messages, those that learned behavior, those things of punishment that you received are now in your head, and now you're punishing yourself with negative self-talk. I found over the years that discipline is not necessarily punishment. Punishment is like you go to jail for a crime, and you go to the judge and they sentence you with a long-term sentence. Why? Because you're being punished because of the offense. Hopefully you learn something, but at the same time, that's not our goal. Our goal is to punish you. Sometimes we're dealing with our children, we're dealing with ourselves in that punishment mindset. What I would like for you to take today from today's lesson is to turn it around. Rather than dealing in the punishing yourself era, let's go to discipline. Discipline is teaching. It's teaching. It's, I'm human. I make mistakes. I learn and I grow. Sometimes I don't learn very quickly because I'm a human. I'm not a machine. I'm not an assembly line. You don't press the button and I get it right. I'm not a robot. But what happens is, even though I'm I'm this human that make mistakes. Sometimes it takes me longer to pick up the mathematic formula of life. But guess what? I'm still here. I'm still here. I'm still maybe not even trying to get it right yet, but as long as I'm taking these steps in life to grow, then I enter into a new stage in my life where I may see things different. I may see that more valuable. I may see that need to grow in that area, but don't count me out. Don't count me out. Don't count your kids out. Don't count me out. Don't count yourself out while you're going through the stage. You're learning how to live this life. So therefore, rather than punishing ourselves, let's take these moments as teaching moments of life. So rather than, you big dummy, when we talk about harsh talk, harsh self-talk, self-talk is something that helps us get through these various moments in life. Self-talk helps us to keep ourselves inwardly driven to stay on the direction, inwardly motivated. Don't nobody know what you're doing up here. So guess what? I'm inwardly motivating myself not to screw up, to stay in the change and learn from the moment. Harsh self-talk, and I'm going to read some stuff to you. Harsh self-talk is blaming. You're blaming yourself. Maybe you haven't got to that point. Maybe you're blaming other people. You're pointing the finger, other people, they made me do it. If it wasn't for them and that, and the other, that's not growth either. That's not growth either. What's growth is accepting my stuff, owning it, and learning from it. So, excuse me, blaming, beating yourself up, all that stuff, it prevents change. It helps you to continue to ignore yourself. If I'm blaming the other person, I'm not even looking at me. I'm not even looking at the possibility of learning from the moment. I'm not even taking a look at exploring what's inside of me that I need to look at. And if I'm beating myself up, I'm not even exploring it either. What I'm doing is punishing myself for it, and I'm not learning and growing from it. Harsh self-talk, for an example, somebody give me an example of harsh self-talk. Go ahead, unmute your phone and share. What does harsh self-talk sound like to you in your world?
I've never been. Well, when I was younger, I was very, very harsh on myself. I come from a background of children should be seen and not heard. And if you did something, you were severely, severely whipped.
Okay.
Very severely whipped. And sometimes when I look back now, that sometimes you never hit a child. Some kids you gotta whip them, but you don't hit them while you're raging angry.
Yeah.
You don't hit them while you're raging angry. But anyway, my harsh self-talk, it was bad. It was bad. And I used to have a thing where, as an adult, well, I'll beat myself up before you do.
Okay.
When I say I'll check me before you check me. But externally, like I had, like I remember what I had said at the beginning. I became 3 or 4 different Negroes on the corner of San Pedro and Fifth, and I know you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I told this person, I said, you expect me, y'all expect to be able to raise all kind of sand with me and expect me to hang my head and cry like I used to.
Okay.
But don't you know, I had to tell the last person that I know that loved me, even though we had a piece of work relationship, is this. I could go buck wild about now. And you got to understand that. And somebody can end up in one place and somebody can end up in another place, because I'm not having it anymore. Not one more drop, not one more nothing. I know I make a lot of mistakes, but during this particular time, in this last week or two, it's a lot of hard self-check been going on, but not like where I'm beating me up. We're not where I'm beating me up. No. No. but I'm telling you myself, I'm telling that little inner girl. I had a conversation with somebody who that they had been so severely abused that they finally realized at our late ages that they had kind of split into segments, you know.
Okay. Okay.
And she was telling me that I have to tell that little girl
Mm-hmm.
that you can't have what you want. And she said that little girl, that inner girl, tore up the whole house.
Wow.
Had a temper tantrum because she was very, very severely abused.
Yes.
And she said, but I was explaining to her that eventually we're going to have to integrate,
Yeah.
that you got to come to terms with self, with each part of yourself.
Yes.
And they got to be integrated. And sometimes you live without, especially when you get older. Some things you just learn how to really take what's left and work with that.
That's right. And pick up the pieces and deal with what
Yeah.
remains.
But I was very harsh on myself when I was younger. Oh my God, I was harsh on myself.
What did your harsh talk sound like?
When I was a teenager, my brother reminded me, he said, he used to stand in the mirror and ask God why he made you so ugly. That was the level of rejection that I was under, the level um, that I was under,
Yeah.
that I had been through so much rejection
Wow.
and unmet needs.
Yes.
And I'm still sitting here with a whole big old sack, like a giant mansion sized sack of unmet needs.
Okay.
And I got to learn how to live with them unmet needs.
Yes. That's right. That's right. One day at a time.
You learn how to live with that big old sack of unmet needs. And you know, like a lot of people, they expect for me to be a certain way or a certain level of affection and all that. Like, please skip you. Get out of my way. I don't do that. We don't do that in my world. We don't do that in my version of Wakanda. We don't do all that hugging and kissing.
Mm-hmm.
Women expect, and they get mad when you don't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why women are like that.
But that's where acceptance have to come in, because everyone is gone through their own different set of circumstances. And I like how you said, and we become the version of ourselves who we are at that moment.
Yeah. So like the hard self talk.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now in some areas I need to cuss me out. Like I was along with some cheesecake last night.
Uh-oh.
I could have stood a good cussing out. I don't know if it would have made any difference, but I don't know if it would have stopped me. But one thing I can say about that cheesecake, when confronted at the store with the giant cheesecake, with the big cheesecake and the little small, variety pack edition, I didn't eat it all.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody else is helping. I only bought the little small one. Because
Okay.
had I bought the big one, I might still be on the floor in the kitchen,
Uh-oh.
just laying there face down in the cheesecake
Oh
from
boy.
last night's feelings,
Right,
But
right.
what I'm saying is like, I have to learn. I'll tell anybody. Now,
Well,
stop doing dumb stuff.
hold on there, because we got a lot to go through.
Wait, let me say this real quick. I'm gonna let
Okay.
it go. Just stop doing dumb stuff, but still be kind to yourself, because you might be the only one who's going to be kind to you in this world.
Wow.
You might be you might be it.
Yeah.
So I would tell anybody, be gentle with yourself. Thank you.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Absolutely. Say you might be the only one that is. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, Denise. We look at this harsh self-talk in order for us to get through these moments of life, in order to become resilient and overcome what we look at as disappointing, what we look at as a downfall, is and how we internalize that. So we have to realize the power of self-talk. But that self-talk could be split into a positive self-talk that not sugarcoats or washes everything away, but looking at the real and the reality of what's going on, identifying your fault in it, and just taking a moment to kind of process that out. And but that other self-talk, like what Denise was talking about, that harsh self-talk, it doesn't do anything. We cuss ourselves out, we beat ourselves up, we check ourselves, and it prevents change. It's easy to do because we're just following along with the internal messages that has been demising us all these years, but we're not learning anything. We're just putting ourselves in a bad place, checking ourselves, and not even really taking accountability to what's happening, because we're not even looking at what's happening. We're just dealing with our feelings about our disappointment of what happened. So let's say you have a relapse in your unhealthy behavior. Let's say you have a relapse in drinking. You have a relapse in controlling. You have a relapse in enabling. You have a relapse in smoking. You have a relapse in whatever it is. What are you going to gain by beating yourself up? Just like Miss Denise talked about her and that cheesecake last night. She said, I probably could have endured a good cussing out. Not that it would have changed anything. And that's the thing. When we punish ourselves, it don't change anything. It doesn't help us in a better era. It doesn't help us to a better path, nor does it help us to understand, why am I doing this? Understand this behavior is living. Let me identify why. Maybe because my emotional pain is high. Maybe because I'm looking for a way to soothe myself. Learning from it helps us to grow. So one of the things that when we talk about self-talk, I'm gonna give you an example of hard self-talk. Let's say that you did have a drink last night, and your harsh self-talk is like, oh, I drank last night. What a loser. I can't do anything right. You big jerk. You big dummy. I'm so tired of you. I can't wait till I leave and go to glory and get rid of you, old flesh. Things like that. That's a harsh self-talk. What did you just learn? What was edified? Remember what we said, the quotation earlier in the day, the quotation, you yourself as much as anyone in the entire universe deserves your love and affection. Where's your love and affection? Where's your compassion for yourself as you're growing and learning or going through this stage of life? A more healthier self-talk would be like, you know what? I know drinking is dangerous. I know that, but I did it. I did it anyway. There must be a reason. Maybe it's because I'm upset about my brother's death. Maybe next time when I feel the urge to drink, I'll try to prevent it by calling my sponsor and talking about how I feel. Do you see the difference there? I'm not sugarcoating what I did. I'm not saying, that's okay, better luck next time. I'm not saying whatever, you such a jerk, ain't nothing gonna change. I'm not saying that. I'm looking at the reality of it. I did that, man, and I'm not happy with myself about that. What happened? What was going on? The only good thing about a relapse is that you can learn more about yourself and in your recovery process. That's the only good thing that's about it. So now look, sometimes again, when we are giving ourselves these hard internal messages, sometimes it's because of some I like how Denise talked about the unmet needs. Sometimes we have some trauma inside that we haven't dealt with, that's unresolved. Sometimes we have some needs that are unmet and they have not been given attention to. Sometimes we got some issues that are just bleeding out, but we're ignoring it by just harsh talk, just by being what we call owning up to something, when maybe you are owning up, but at the same time, you're not helping yourself. So one thing about it, I want to let you know that harsh self-talk, it prevents growth. It prevents growth. And that's one thing that we want to realize today. We want to grow. We want to grow through our mistakes. We want to grow through our wrong choices. We want to grow through, even if I said, hey, you know what? I did it. That's it. I did it. Ain't nothing I can do about that. And maybe you're right, but I can learn from it. So one of the things that we've learned over the years is self-hatred, because that's all that is self-hatred, And so one of the things that we want to do is love ourselves. This is how we're going to get through these moments. This is how we're going to caress ourselves into our greater person. This is how we're going to take these moments and we're going to own up to them. You're going to take these moments and we're going to learn from them. So one of the ways that we're going to do that, I want you to ask yourself, if I love myself, what would I say to myself right now? And I want you guys to go ahead, unmute your phone and share. And let's say that you just made a bad decision, just made a bad decision, or maybe you just had a relapse into your unhealthy, unwanted behavior. So and you may be angry at yourself. You may be feeling uncomfortable with yourself. Those old internal messages are blaring out at you. Maybe you done picked up some of your own. Maybe you're in a mode where you want to point fingers and blame somebody else. Maybe you're in a mode where, hey, I just don't even feel like looking at it. I don't feel like dealing with it. If you loved yourself right now, I want to hear you tell me what are some of the things that you would say to yourself right now. Go ahead, unmute your phone and share. Come on, you just messed up. Go ahead, Bianca.
I would say to myself, yes, you did mess up, but there is another day.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. There is another day. There's another day. She's owning that, yes, I did mess up. It wasn't Bob. It wasn't Jerry. It was me. I made that mistake. Why I made that mistake? I'll learn. I'll see. But for right now, I'm going to reassure my love for myself. Thank you so much. Another way that we can increase compassion for ourselves, because sometimes, remember, we talked about how these unhealthy behaviors are very habitual and repetitive, whereas it's very hard. It's very hard sometimes, whereas we don't recognize that that cycle of sameness causes us to lose compassion for ourselves and lose the ability to grow. So in increasing compassion, I want you to ask yourself, if I were really listening to my deepest need, what would I say to myself? Think about it. If I was really listening to the deepest need, the deepest part of me, maybe you're trying to overcome an addiction. Maybe you're trying to overcome some pain from past. Maybe you're trying to overcome some trauma. If you was to come off that surface with yourself, because see, that's one thing about unhealthy behaviors and cycles that need to be broken. What happens is we get to a point where we don't even explore what's inside of us. We're so used to just dealing with the surface. What are some things that maybe you would say to yourself if you would just zoom in to what your real needs are? If you was to pay attention and listen to your deepest need, what would you say right now to yourself?
One of the things I acknowledge that possibly in this lifetime that a lot of my needs are not going to get met. And you may have to ball them up and throw them in the trash and keep on going and just do you and keep living. I have a job to do in the natural and in a job that I'm learning in the spiritual that I got to do. But in the natural, right now, I would tell myself, get your fat, greasy butt up and go to the gym. You need to go to the gym. You need to start going back to the gym, no matter how you've been feeling lately. I haven't been to the gym. Got this membership. When we talked about it before, about having the membership and not going.
Yeah.
I said, that's one of the things you can do for yourself.
Yes.
And where I'm at on really is a journey of just trying to love Denise, because I'm all Denise got.
Yeah.
I am all Denise got. I am all Denise got. Mm. I've had some experience over these last so many days that, well, you knew they was like this already. You knew they was like this, but like, wow, you was like this already. But the best thing I would tell me, like when you mess up, okay, that there's some things that we have said no more on, and there's some things we have said no more on, and just I gotta be kind to me and love me, and I need to take me to the gym, and then Pepper, don't bring home no more cheesecake. Leave the cheesecake alone.
Okay.
Anna Mae, leave the cheesecake alone. Thank you.
Thank you, Denise. But I love that. One thing that I would say to myself, that I accept that I'm all I have. I accept that I have some unmet needs that may not become met, and accepting that and owning that. And I like how Denise said in other times also is changing from waiting to get my needs met to now I'm going to have to be the one to meet my needs. And I love that, because that's a powerful transition of mind, because as a child, it's expected for our needs to be met. And sometimes our needs weren't met. Sometimes trauma was built on your ignored need. Sometimes rejection was built on that ignored need. And now we grow up with needs being rejected and being tormented and being traumatized, on top of the feelings, the childhood feelings that we've had about it. And now these same internal infractions have grown up in our adult bodies and our adult presence, but we're still dealing with that pain. So now somewhere learning, you know what? I'm no longer anticipating others to meet my needs. I'm going to have to meet them myself. And saying that to yourself in love, accepting that truth in love. This is the difference between compassion and harshness. That correction, that teaching moment, that discipline done in love makes the difference in our lives. I'm not talking about the tone by which you say it to yourself. I'm not talking about the sweet adjectives that we add. I'm just talking about downright loving yourself. Downright loving yourself. Another way that we can increase compassion for ourselves so that we can speak to ourselves in compassionate matters is to try to explore the reasons for your actions. Try to explore the underlying reasons for your actions. Like in the example earlier, instead of just being so hard on yourself because you drank, take the moment to learn from it. Take the moment to learn from it. One of the things that I do, I embrace a teaching moment for me, for my children, whoever, because guess what? That moment in life, it happened. It's not to be swept under the rug. It's not to be ignored. It's not to act like it never happened, but it's to learn from. So therefore, if there's a situation that happens that I need to learn from, let me take this moment to learn from. So here it is. Let's say you was driving down the street and you saw in the road that there was this big construction problem and it was glass everywhere, but you was in such a rush that you just drove through that glass anyway. Well, guess what? All your tires is popped out on the other side of that street, and the tires are so expensive. It's going to cost you $400 excuse me, to replace all your tires. This is, sometimes we're going to be mad, we're going to be angry, we're going to do this, that, and the other, but let's just take the moment to learn from the experience. Let's take them. Yes, that $400 is a very costly experience, but it's mine. So if we take the time to say, you know what? I was impatient. I was impulsive. You know, I wasn't acting smart. Sometimes I just get in that rage that I just want to do what I want to do despite the negative consequences. I just want to do me and think that me and everybody else is supposed to be okay with that. Maybe that's something I need to change. So I can look at my faults without traumatizing myself that I have faults. So one of the things is try to explore the reasons for your actions. So what are some of the things that you've identified maybe that is a reason for some of your unhealthy behaviors? Go ahead, unmute your phone and share someone.
Let me try this. So, one of the things that I know you passed on through this, but one of the things I would say to myself is that I love Bianca.
Okay.
That would be one of the things that I would say to myself. And also I would say to myself that I am more than enough.
Okay.
Okay. And the reasons that there could be some other things, but the reason that I chose those two things is because growing up, you know, that love was not always displayed.
Okay.
And so then growing up, you know, hearing the harsh talk, you know, or even hearing that maybe not the parents or whoever not saying I love you enough.
Yeah.
I remember during the time that I got a little older, me and my mom had a talk, and she was telling me about you know, my conception, and my conception was that I was a mistake. And so that's something that she told me I was a mistake. Me and your dad was on our way of getting a divorce. He came in, da da da, bam, here I am. So that was one of the things that I walked around with. Also, as you know, hearing that you're a mistake. You know, I didn't really want you, but you know, I kept you. Um, and so that was one of the things. So loving myself. I remember having a conversation just the other day. I had a conversation with a very wise person, and some of the things that I was listening to a family member talk about how they felt about situations about you know, family members, and how they really felt hurt and abandoned, lost, and all these different things. And they wanted to have a little personal meeting with the individual. And one of the things that the person who I got counsel from was saying that, you know, make sure that person heal first, because you don't really know what the other person is going to say, and you walk out worse a state than you was when you walked in there.
Yeah.
And that thing, I thought about that thing. I remember asking my dad, you know, was he my father? Because, you know, I wasn't raised by my mom or my dad. I was raised by my aunt and uncle. And so I really didn't have a father figure in my life. And the one who was supposed to take care of me, my uncle, was the one who violated me. And so didn't really have a father figure in my life. So one day, you know, me and my father had a conversation. I'm like, you know, are you really my father? Because we don't look alike or anything like that. And he told me, he said, you know, your brother, I could say yes. Your sister, um, I say I believe. So you definitely, I would say you wasn't mine. So having to deal with that, you know, ask the question, you know, deep down inside, kind of already knowing the answer to the question, but to hear it come out that person's mouth, it's like, wow, you know, that's a whole nother pain that you have to, you know, get through. So yeah, loving myself, but where other people didn't love me or love me the best way they have, knew how I have to learn how to love me, in spite of my wrongs, in spite of me not um, doing it right. Yeah, I may have made mistakes in my life, but I am not a mistake.
That's right.
I may not have got the love from those that I desire to get love from, but I am lovable.
Yes.
So those are some of the things. And this next one, and then I'll release it. Release this mic. Another thing is, as I got older, got into relationships, got married. When the marriage was turning to the left, I remember my father-in-law had told me. He said, you know what, all the kids that you have, ain't nobody gonna want you.
Hmm.
Ain't nobody gonna want you. So you you better go ahead and just stay with my son, because you got too many kids in there. No man don't want a woman with a whole bunch of kids.
Wow.
Now, with that being said, as I sit today and I think about it, with that being said, whether I took that and let it be something that caused me not to move forward in relationships. But one thing I do know is that after I got out of that marriage, I didn't get involved with something that could be permanently.
Okay.
So for those who don't know, I became the other woman.
Okay.
There was no strings attached or anything like that. Hung out, treat me nice, whatever. We move on. Um, so when I was sitting here today and I was thinking about that, and then I had my own philosophy. I didn't want no other man over my children while they was young because of the things that I went through and different things like that. But I do recall that my father-in-law said to me, "Oh, they um, ain't no man gonna want you. You got too many kids." So with that being said, I'm learning to say, you know what? I am more than enough.
Oh, wow.
So I tell you, these classes here, when you don't think about it, or maybe deep buried down inside of you, or whatever, I tell you, if you sit and you really think, you take the tools, you listen. I mean, it would be able to bring some of that stuff up that you may be able to start the healing process. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Bianca, and thank you for just being so transparent. You always are. Thank you so much. With the very personals of your life, but that's something, and that's really shows a very good example of how how a message from the issues of your childhood, the unmet needs, the lack of figures, how all that stuff have a play. And then you get married until the culmination of all of the childhood issues and unmet needs and internal messages and violations and wrong handling. Then we come into a marriage that was obviously unhealthy, because there was a time that you wanted out when your father-in-law instructed you, "Oh, you might as well stay with my son." Wow, you might as well keep on enduring what you're enduring because you have all these children, and I'm so grateful that you grew to that point to recognize within yourself, I am enough within myself. My circumstance is unique and it's individual. It's unique, and what that means is that my unique circumstances has a unique look. This is what happens with us. We look at situations, we want to mainstream it. We want it to look like the mainstream, but life is not always like that. So how do we cope? Thank you so much for sharing those things, Bianca. What are some of the things? My body may not look like the mainstream. My decision making may not be like the mainstream. Someone always has a power to say, "Oh, well, you should have did this, you should have did that." Well, yeah, hindsight is 2020, but we're learning that as we go forward. It's okay to make mistakes. Like Bianca always say, I make mistakes, but I'm not a mistake. And that's a beautiful statement and affirmation that you've made to yourself that I want us all to adopt. I make mistakes. It's okay. I'm not a mistake. I'm not a bad person. I'm not marred. I'm not damaged goods. I'm just a human in this world who deserves my own compassion to help me get through those hard spots of life so that I can learn and grow how to be this person that I desire to become. Thank you so much. Another way to increase compassion is to use kinder language with yourself. Sometimes, like Ms. Denise talked about, hey, I could have cussed myself out with that cheesecake, or I could have endured a good cussing out. But one thing we want to do, because sometimes we get used to that. We get used to being treated hard. So one thing we want to do is maybe want to consider when we're in that mode to beat ourselves up, to discipline ourselves, to check ourselves, let's use kinder language and explore our situations. As we're going through the methods of learning compassionate self-talk, let's use kinder language. One of the things that you could do is even imagine that you're talking to a child. Sometimes talking to a child or talking to a friend, how you talk to that friend that done messed up, baby, it's going to be all right. You know what? Yes, you did that. You learned from it. Maybe it's not the best thing to go off with another man while you're still married. You had to learn that. Where did that come from? Where'd you get that from? Did your mom do that? Did your dad do that? Somewhere you picked that up. Okay, no, well, great. You made a mistake. It's all right. You're going to be okay. If the marriage don't heal, guess what? You're still young. You're going to move on. We're going to get there. See how we can give that to someone else? Let's give that to ourselves. Let's talk to ourselves like we're the friend. And let's give ourselves that same compassion that we deserve more than anyone else. Also, another thing is to experiment with compassion. Sometimes compassion may be hard. A few of you have already talked about how you're growing up. There was a lot of rejection. There was a lot of abuse. There was a lot of just mishandlement and bad treatment. So sometimes we don't know how to be compassionate to ourselves. Sometimes all we know how to do is be emotional. Now, that emotional self may come out crying. That emotional self may come out angry. That emotional self may come out different ways. Sometimes I tell people, I'm just surrounded by emotional people. That doesn't mean everyone is crying. It doesn't mean everyone's angry. What it means is people feel. So what happens is we feel. So help us to utilize the channel of compassion in our feeling. So let's be compassionate. Again, not sugarcoating. I'm not trying to blah, blah, blah. That didn't happen. There's a difference, and I'm going to post this video one day. It's empathy versus sympathy. It's okay. Just like we were talking about a few seconds ago, we were talking about how we can be there for another person. Sometimes, empathy is needed even for ourselves, just to feel the space that you're in, just to feel the space that you're in. Quit trying to give a resolution or resolve all the time. Sometimes the way to get through the process is to first feel it. Yes, we're going to get to the point where I got to, look at what happened, and I got to find out, where am I going with this and what happened? Yes, all that is a factor. But guess what? Just having that empathy for others as well as ourselves initially, just to feel the space that you're in, rather than fix it. Well, child, at least you this, you didn't smoke up all Peru, you just had a little relapse. Now, all that's good. But what I'm saying, first feel where you are. Remember, we talked about that the other day, recognizing your feelings. Sometimes we mislabel our feelings so much because we don't take the time to feel them. So let's just experience that empathetic moment with ourselves. And it's okay to, not just sit around and feel sorry for yourself. I'm not saying that. I'm saying to feel the space that you're in, identify, where am I emotionally? Where am I? Feel the space that you're in and be okay. Yeah, that hurt. Yeah, I feel that. that emptiness is real, and after you identify where you are internally, then utilize you some compassionate self-talk. Find out why are you here and what can you do to get out and what are the things that we can do to never go there again. So we're going to experiment with that compassion, and we're going to try practicing it. Practice increasing that compassion. And I'm going to give an example before we go, and I want to hear if there's any last words. An old way of coping, I'll give a situation. Like my daughter saw me using drugs and she really looked hurt. And the old way of coping with that is to say, I said to myself, you're no good. You're not fit for her. You just a screwed up parent. Negative self-talk. That's the old way of dealing with things in a negative self-talk type of fashion. But let's listen to using healthier, more compassionate self-talk. And say to yourself, well, I must be feeling pretty upset if I used in front of my daughter. I must be feeling pretty deprived. Identifying that stage that you're in, your emotional self, and where you are. Am I in that rage? Was I in that selfish mode? Where was I? Where was my feelings? Where was I? So I must have felt pretty upset or deprived if I used in front of her. How do I need to take care of myself better so that this won't happen again? So remember, we're trying to move forward. We're not trying to punish ourselves for the mistake that we made. We feel the hurt of that, and we've hurt others, and we feel terrible about that. So what can I do in this moment that will promote a healthier future? So the old way, being negative and having that harsh self-talk, you feel awful and you feel lower than low. That's what that does. It prevents change, and it does nothing to promote a healthier life. But the new way, hey, I tried to focus on some solutions. Maybe I called my sponsor, I called my life coach, I called my pastor, I called my confidant, my best friend, and I'm getting better. You see the difference here? One, you stay stuck with that negative self-talk. With the other, you move forward. You move forward. You experience the setback. You feel it. You have empathy with yourself and for yourself. You find new solutions, and you move forward in life with a whole new framework of mind. Any last comments before we exit out today?
Yes, ma'am. I hear you, Bianca. One of the things that God gave me early on, or it may have been before I got saved, the Lord spoke to me Himself. I heard this word. I always had art with who my parents were and how they came together.
Mm.
And He expressed to me that I had to put him together and her together to get you.
Yeah.
And my late bishop, he said there's a lot of you in this congregation, you have a problem with how you came into the world and who and the what, and they didn't love you, they didn't nurture you, or whatever. The bishop talked about that often. And he said, but I'm going to tell you something, that if you're sitting here before me right now, that there is a purpose for you, that out of all the live, out of a male and female coming together, all the live possibilities that could have happened to catch that one egg, you understand?
Yes.
God picked out this one and God picked out that one to put, because He knew you would be His child.
Wow.
That you would serve Him. That you would do what He needed you to do when He needed you. That maybe the generation prior, and I had this experience, they didn't receive the call. The call came, but they didn't get it. But when the call came for me, I grabbed it because it was a straw that I needed, because I was no longer wanted that other world. And I'll say this about relapse. I'm not going to say beat yourself about relapse, anybody. about especially substance abuse. But I'll tell you this, that you can't play with, if you get clean, you got to put such a high value on, I am no longer putting a drug or drink in my body. And I'll tell you why. Because if you wake that monster up, because I've known people who have had, I've been around around the rooms of recovery since 88, that I've known people and talking about me too, relapsing. And a year, got 6 months, relapse, got 5 years, 6 years, relapse, 20 years, relapse. And a lot of people can't get any more, get clean again, nor get sober. So I would tell anybody, do anything you can. To like, I acknowledge that I got a brain and a spirit that like that woohoo or whatever the substance is. However, I can't afford it, or I'm gonna toss my whole life up. Ain't no telling that if I may get clean again, because that monster get up. Like I told somebody at the meeting, I said, look, I wake up this disease, my version of the disease of addiction. I done woke up Godzilla. I done woke up Mighty Joe Young. I done woke up King Kong, and I done got Gamera going too, and they all gonna all jump me and beat me through the streets. I take that very, very seriously. I tell anybody, we got to get some kind of program. And work some kind of program. You know, the program may change from day to day, but anybody that's here on this planet right now, you are here with a purpose, because there is one who chose us out of the million that could have been here. It's the truth. Thank you.
I love that. You're absolutely, it is the truth. And when we look at the conception and how individuals are conceived, you're absolutely right. There's millions of those sperm cells that could have been the one that attacked that egg, but God had a plan. He had a plan that one sperm cell got to that one egg, and we have this beautiful individual, this human individual that's going to make mistakes, but the power is to learn in the mistake, learn from the mistake, so that, again, like Miss Denise said, that we don't wake up those old beasts of our past, especially with addiction. You're absolutely right. We have to put some value on our life change. Whatever you're trying to recover from, whatever it is, whatever unhealthy, unwanted behavior that you are dealing with today, please put the value on your life without it. Put the value and recognize and appreciate how wonderful life is without it. Let's not get back into that old cycle of sameness. Guys, that's our time. Thank you so much for today. God bless you. Remember, guys, live free. We got to live this life. We only get one here. So let's live this life. Let's enjoy it. Let's have a great time. Let's deal with the ups of it and the downs of it. And where we make some bad decisions, where we make a mistake, where we chose to rebel, let's learn from those moments and let's do well. But let's remove those old internal messages that keep us bound in our sameness. I love you guys. Have a great day, and I'll hear you tomorrow.